Number 1. What is your name?
My name is God.
Number 2. What is your name?
God!
Number 3. What is your name?
My name is God.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time again for your favorite game show, To Tell the Truth, I Don't Know What's My Line. And now, here's your host, Bennett Barker. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming out. So lovely to see you all here. Thank you. We have a very exciting show for everyone today. Let's get right to the fun, shall we? Today we have an exceptionally exciting show because we have 3 guests, all of whom claim to be
God.
To help us find out which one is the real deity, let's introduce our 3 studio contestants. First, a president of a small manufacturing company from Detroit, Michigan, Ralph Morrison.
Good morning, Bennett.
Our next contestant hails from El Paso, Texas, where she works from her home. Please give a warm welcome to Bonnie Lamberts.
Well, hi there, Bennett.
Our last contestant is a middle school principal living in Brooklyn, New York. Please give it up for Henrietta Schwartz.
Hello.
Well, what do you say we stick the key in the ignition and get this thing started? Ralph, you can start the questioning.
Thank you, Bennett. God, number 1. What would you say to a skeptic that would convince them that you are the actual God?
Well, I know how people are impressed with brute strength, so I would flex my large pectorals.
Okay. Bonnie, your turn to ask a question.
Yes, God number 2.
Yes.
Well, I always kind of wondered, what did you do before you created the universe?
Why, you puny insolent worm? I'll tell you what I was doing. I was thinking of ways to punish people who ask stupid questions like you!
Alrighty, almighty. Henrietta, it's your turn.
Yes. God number 3. We have some very unruly boys at my school. Now, I know they have trouble at home, but I've got to get them straightened out. What would be your advice?
As I spoke through my chosen one, that ancient sage, bada bada bing. The flower of youth is the nectar which feeds the bees of creativity, who in turn make the honey of progress, which sweetens the jelly of civilization, spread liberally upon the toasted bagels of history.
That's interesting. God number 1, do you have any advice?
Well, I know how kids are impressed with brute strength, so I would flex my large pectorals.
God number 2.
How dare you challenge my authority! Every wicked person shall be swept off the planet, including you, if you don't obey me!
Okay. Ralph, let's go back to you.
Let's go with God number 3. You know, I'm thinking about selling my company. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to my employees when I do. What can I do to be assured they're going to be taken care of?
Before you leave, have everyone in the company memorize the ritual of right thinking.
Ritual of right thinking, what's that?
Life-giving words that, if said regularly, will provide health and prosperity.
And those words?
Simply repeat over and over, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
God number 1, your thoughts on the same question?
Well, I know how people are impressed with brute strength. So I would flex my large pectorals.
And God number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's all the time we have. Contestants, it's time to make your selection. Will it be God number 1, God number 2, or God number 3? I must remind the studio audience to please remain silent while our contestants make their selection. Okay, Ralph, which God did you choose?
Ben and I chose God number 1. Any God that could make the universe has to be a pretty strong guy.
Okay, and Bonnie, your selection.
Yes, well, I chose God number 3 because he just seems so ethereal and serene.
Okay, and Henrietta, your choice.
Well, I voted for God number 2 because even if he's not the real God, I don't want him mad at me.
Okay, then, that's 1 vote for each God. Now let's see who today's winner is. And now, will the real God please stand up? That's right! None of these is the real God. They are all imposters. In fact, the real God is standing behind the curtain that Meryl Carroll is standing in front of. Just kidding. But how about you? All of you out there. Is number 1 your impression of God? An almighty bodybuilder? Creator of all, but too wrapped up in his own strength and power to care? Or is it number 2? It's a pretty popular model, actually. Bow down in reverence, or I'll squish you like a bug. And then there's God number 3. He's approachable, but who would want to? So how about you? What do you see God as?